Morning, kiddos. This is Mr. B. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of March, and this is the how-to for this week's art. So there's kind of an overview of what it's going to look like. This week, again, we are covering the chicken wing song for fun due to its kind of impression on the web. And it is a heptatonic mode, so we're still staying true to our overall goals in terms of our plan for the trimester, which is interesting. But it is not, by any stretch, a normal sort of pentatonic. And the details of its structure are a little beyond really what we can totally cover right now at our grade level, but we'll definitely get into the deep end of the pool a little bit today. So this is by Mr. B, and let's pretend I'm in period 5. And then this is a heptatonic variation. Now again, heptatonic means that there are 7 steps, and it means that there's ultimately 8 notes, but you've got one note that would appear to be sort of the same, but it's an octave higher, right? So this week we're going to go ahead and draw our pitch class space wheel, giving ourselves some room down below for 2 clefs, 2 treble clef. All right. And in this week, we will label this. This is our, as usual, our P1. Perfect 1, also referred to as our tonic, and then when we come up to the octave, that's considered our perfect 8th. All right. Now, relative to that, remember that down here we have normally what we consider to be our perfect 4th and our perfect 5th. These are the other things that are perfect, and remembering that these are perfect because they occur as vibrations in a string normally. This is the fundamental, the foundational frequency of the string's vibration. The octave is 1/2 of it. Remember that again, the perfect 4th is at the 1/4 mark across the entire vibrating system. The perfect 5th is at the 1/3 mark and 2/3 mark throughout the entire vibrating system. That's why these are considered perfect and sort of magical, and they're the foundation of everything in music. So that's where we're starting. Today's work is a little different than that. So here we're going to go ahead, we're going to label here our minor second as we normally would, our major second as we normally would, our minor third, a major third, again the tritone being that thing in between the perfect 4th and the perfect 5th that nobody ever likes to talk about, the minor 6th, the major 6th, minor 7th interval, and the major 7th interval again. Now this week's pattern is whole step, half step, whole step, half step, half step, and something new here I like to call a giant step. Now I'm borrowing, and I take a little bit of liberty there, but I'll show you what that means in just a second. So we have from our tonic, from our starting point here, we have a whole step, so we take that whole step. We're going to mark that. And then we're going to take a half step. We're going to mark that. Now we're going to take a whole step. Now we're going to take 2 half steps. 1, 2. Now we're going to take a giant step. A giant step, by my definition, is this. There's a song by a guy named Coltrane. It's called Giant Steps, and that's a whole other topic, but that is where we're at. And then this is a whole step to finish it off. So it finishes off with a whole step. Now, again, we can see that we have, this is, again, what we would call our 1 from our Roman systems. Okay, that's our 1. Here is our 3. Let me put these in boxes so it's easier for you to see. This is our 3. And then the other thing we always focus on is what is the 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 4. And this is 4 in a different sense, but in terms of steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 steps that make this ultimately heptatonic. Here's our 8th note coming back. Now, so in this case, our 3rd is right here. This is our 3rd note. So here's our 2. I better draw that there for you. It makes more sense. So there's that. Now remember, one of the things we've talked about recently is we've been putting this little table up here in the corner to describe diminished, minor, major, and augmented. And remembering that the half-step ratios are this. Bye, both of you. Have a good day. All right. So remember, the diminished is 3 half steps, 3 half steps. Minor is 3 half steps and then 4 half steps. Major starts with 4 half steps and then 3 half steps. And augmented is 4 half steps and 4 half steps. So what we have here is with 1, 2, 3, that tells us that this right here, this relationship right here, that's 3 half steps. So there's 3. So we got a clue. We know we're in this ballpark right here. It's either diminished or it's minor. Now we've got 1, 2, 3 to get to our 5. So remember, this is our 3, and this is our 5. This is our 5th step. And again, we have this relationship here with 3 half steps. So ultimately means that the quality of this particular structure is what is referred to as diminished. That is what is, this mode is a diminished type mode. Now it has other things going on in it here. There's other things that are happening. In fact, even in the trombone, we bring in this major 6th note, and then what happens too as well, we're normally in the 6th, we would be here in the major 6th, that's been dropped down here, it's been flatted in a sense. So instead of playing a traditional minor 6th, we're coming down here and playing what would normally have been the perfect 5th. The perfect 5th is still getting played. Sometimes people call this a tritone substitution. You're adding that note. So again, it's way beyond the scope of naming this, but just to understand what the pattern is and be able to play it today is really the point of it. And again, it's a fun song. So here is our clef work down at the bottom, and we're going to need 2 of them this week. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're drawing a separate staff down here. All right, we're squared away there. Let's go ahead and tighten up our ends. We're going to be repeating again this week, only twice, however. Okay, so it gets our measures set up. We can go ahead and draw our treble clef. A little wanky, but it'll work. And then we need our little repeat over here. And we're going to do that 2 times. This week, again, our quarter note is equal to 128 beats per minute. And then we've got 4 time. And then we are playing this repeat 2 times, ultimately. Now, we have several rests this week. They're all half rests. Remember, the half rests are like hats. They sit up. By convention, they sort of go on this middle line, but, you know, anybody's going to listen to you if you write it. Anyway, they're not going to ignore it. And then for here, we're going to do a quarter note as an F. We're going to do a quarter note. Actually, these are 8th notes. A sharp. 8s because they've got their little laggy bits. And noticing that, wait, actually they are, that's wrong. Ooh, catching an error. So, yeah, you wouldn't want that there. Let me see. Got my white out? No. Absent my white out. All right, well, ignore me then. Don't make that an 8th. These are quarter notes. Glad I caught that. And you should still be recording me, not turning off. Silly machine. All right, so now we're coming here to our C sharp. And then we've got our A sharp and quarter. And there's that. And again, we'll just put a little note here that that's C sharp. And this is A sharp, just so you reinforce it again. This is A sharp. And this is F. And remember, we do not want that tied. Make sure that these are quarter notes. There. Quarter notes. And then this one is our G sharp. And then this one is a C. And that's a C4, by the way. There's our quarters. And then last, we have these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're going to be a D sharp. And it's going to be an A sharp. And then we're going to have an E. And then we're going to have an A sharp. And again, contrary to my prior note over there, these should work out as quarter notes. And then this is D sharp, again, and this is A sharp, and this is E, and then this is A sharp. And I think, oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention is this particular combination, when you start throwing in these giant steps, it turns out there are over 140 arrangements. And that's one of the reasons why theory is kind of funky, is because there's so many different ways of describing things. Just this combination, there's 140 different combinations. Just so you know how I figured that out, I went to a site called Career Bless. I don't know why they call it that. And I found something they call a permutations generator. And I entered this in as a word, in a sense, and then asked it to tell me how many different combinations there were of it. 140 different arrangements of that pattern. So that's why, in the context of theory, it could be described almost in 140 different ways, at least. And so this is your artwork for this week. And let me see here. I think I got all the stuff on there. Did I miss anything? Nope. I think I've got them all. That's it. And thank you for doing the work.